Alright, now we are in James chapter 4, verse 16. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil," unquote. Reading from the ESV, quote, "As it is, you boast in your arrogancy. All such boasting is evil," unquote. The Young Literal Translation, quote, "And now ye glory in your pride. All such glorying is evil," unquote. Geneva version from 1599, quote, "But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil," unquote. Now looking at the Amplified Classic version of James 4, verse 16. We're just reading this to get an idea of the verse, not to study this translation. Quote, "But as it is, you boast falsely in your presumption and your self-conceit. All such boasting is wrong," unquote. Now I'm going to read this verse, and the following verse was the last verse in chapter 4 from the Phillips translation. This is a paraphrase. Corrie ten Boom used to love to read this translation besides the King James Bible. She was from Holland, so her original language was Dutch. So here we go. I'm going to read it in context. "As it is, you get a certain pride in yourself in planning your future with such confidence. That sort of pride is all wrong. No doubt you agree with the above in theory. Well, remember that if a man knows what is right and fails to do it, his failure is a real sin," unquote. And lastly, I'm going to read from the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Quote, "But now you boast in your pretensions. All such boastfulness is evil, wickedness," unquote. Alright, now let's go ahead and do the Greek parsing on this verse. "But now ye rejoice." So let's parse that out. Ye rejoice, the Greek word is in the present tense, so now. Middle or passive deponent voice, which is almost always the active voice, so you. An indicative mood, which means that it's stating a fact. Ye rejoice in your boastings. Now looking at this Greek word in the outline of the Bible usage, it's defined as followed. Empty, braggart talk. Insolent and empty assurance. Trust in your own power and resources. Shamefully despises and violates divine law and human rights. Impetus and empty presumptions, which trust in the stability of earthly things. Continuing on with the Greek parsing, boasting all such rejoicing is. Now let's look at that Greek word for is, parses out to be present tense, so now. An indicative mood, which is stating a simple fact, is evil. I went to look at the definition for evil, and pretty much it means evil. So now let's go on to John Gill's commentary of the Bible on this verse. Quote, "But now you rejoice in your boastings," unquote, "of tomorrow and of the continuance of life and of going to such a place and abiding there for such a time and of trading and trafficking with great success to the obtaining of much gain in riches." See Proverbs chapter 27, verse 1. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth," unquote. Continuing, quote, "All such rejoicing is evil," unquote. Wicked, as expressing a neglect of and a dependency on providency, arrogating and ascribing too much to themselves, their power and will, as if they had their lives and fortunes in their own hands and at their own disposal, when all depend upon the will of God. The Syriac version renders it, quote, "All such rejoicing is from evil," unquote, from an evil heart, from the evil one, Satan. This ends John Gill's commentary on James chapter 4, verse 16. This is a pretty plain verse. We don't really need to go too much more into this. Thank you for listening to Discovering the Scriptures. May God richly bless you as you continue your journey through His Word.